Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Hello. My name is Murray McGowan. I'm the Professor of German, 1776. As I hear, there's an ugly rumour that that's my birth date. But it's just a reminder, Trinity's an ancient university, though we hope we have lots of exciting subjects, topics, themes for contemporary students as well. And I'm here to talk to you today about the two-subject moderatorship degree. I'm the course director of that degree at the moment. And I'll talk to you for about 15-20 minutes. And then I'll be able to take some questions from people if they want to come down individually, or we also have a stand in the dining hall, the TSM stand, where there are colleagues who can give you, particularly if you've got more specific technical questions about the course or the process of applying for it, I would advise you to go to the TSM desk there. So, what is a two-subject moderatorship? Moderatorship is a Trinity word for a degree. Trinity's that sort of university. We have a number of you might say arcane terms for things. It just means a two-subject degree. And it's Trinity's special two-subject joint honours degree. Some people say it's Trinity's arts degree. That's not quite true, because we also have a number of important social science subjects and some natural science subjects, such as mathematics, in the degree as well. The point is that you can combine the study of two subjects from a very wide range. About 25 subjects, there are something like 178 combinations between those subjects available to you. And you can study according to one of two patterns, pattern A or pattern B, and I'll say a bit more about that in a moment. What kind of subjects can I choose? Now, just to give you a sense of that, I'm going to run through those subjects, and you'll see how it builds up a tremendous choice. There's ancient history and archaeology. There's classical civilization. There's drama studies. There's early Irish. This is strictly an alphabetical list and not a hierarchy, by the way. Economics. English literature, film studies, French, geography, German, very good subject, recommend that. Greek, also a good subject, don't want to be unfair to any of the other subjects. History of art and architecture. That's just the first half of the list. Now we'll go over to the second half. You can't get it all on one slide. Italian, Jewish and Islamic civilizations, Latin, mathematics, modern Irish, music, philosophy, psychology, Russian, sociology, Spanish, world religions and theology. Now, subjects come and go historically over the course of time, but it gives you a flavour of the breadth of subjects. The fact that there's a lot of art subjects in there, there's a lot of languages, both ancient and modern languages in there. There are social science subjects, there are natural science subjects. So why choose this degree, TSM at TCD? Why not do a vocational course, for example? And there's lots of questions you could ask. Why do this course rather than another one? I just want to pick out some of those. And I think there are intrinsic reasons and there are so-called transferable skills reasons. And I'll say a little bit about both of those. In terms of intrinsic reasons, I think the first one is I love the subject that I want to do. And I really think this is so important when you're deciding what to do at university, because it's 4 years of your life. It's an opportunity to really throw yourself into something that is a passion, that engages you. You're willing to spend not just a kind of clock watching 35 hours a week, but a large part of your life, other times of the day. It's something that where you instinctively gravitate towards it, which excites you, which engages your mind. That's why you should be choosing what to study at university, I think. And there are plenty of subjects in what we offer in the TSM degree that I hope would excite you. Some of them would. I'd like to combine two subjects is another good reason, and where you would know before you started which subjects there were, in contrast to other kinds of degree where you have a broad first-year arts degree, which also have their strengths for some students who really have not an idea which subjects they want to study. That other kind of degree may be better. But if you know what two subjects you want, the advantage of this degree is you apply for them in advance and you know you'll get them if you get in. These will be the subjects you do. You might want to try a new subject. With 25 plus subjects on offer, there are plenty that you won't have encountered before. And it's a great opportunity, say, to take one subject that you know and love already and another that's always fascinated you, but you really would be starting from scratch with it. And that's understood. A lot of subjects are available from scratch. Not all of them, and that's a point I'll come back to in a moment. You might think knowledge matters. I want to acquire it. I want to share it. That's a very good reason, I think, for taking a degree in the humanities, in the arts generally. Just a fascination with knowledge. Knowledge is worth acquiring. It's worth sharing. It's one of the great privileges of being human, I think. I'm not sure yet what I want to do when I graduate. Is a perfectly reasonable position to be in when you're at the point of starting university. If it's worth knowing, I was in my late 20s before I really knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I'd done a very similar kind of degree a long time ago in the UK, and it was a degree with a range of subjects where I was able later to sort of put off the final decision. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Some people know when they're 15 exactly what they want to do in life. Fine. Others don't. This kind of degree is very good because you can engage with the subject without committing yourself to your future at the same time. Okay, and some other reasons for choosing TSM. On courses such as this, and I'm not saying it's the only one that does this, you learn lots of transferable skills, as well as the particular subjects you want to study. Skills learned in one context that can be transferred to another one. And this is something that employers stress again and again when they're hiring graduates, what they want. They're looking for graduates with good communication skills, with interpersonal skills, able to relate to other people, used to working in groups, presentation skills, problem-solving skills, team-working skills, influencing and negotiating skills. It's not just about getting the extra few days after the deadline to hand in your essay, which is a skill I can confirm lots of our students have in a highly developed way. Flexibility and independence. And these are all things which a degree such as TSM and other degrees help you to develop. The way that we teach, the way that we encourage you to learn, how to study, how to present your ideas. They help you develop these skills, and these are skills which are as important in some ways as the actual degree that you study. And employers will confirm this again and again. This is a letter which was in the Irish Times in 2007 from an employment consultant saying the most employable graduates are those who have developed first-rate minds by studying what they have a passion for, and then applied those minds to a career where they thrived. So you've got those two notions there of the passion, engaging with the passion, developing your mind, developing your transferable skills, and then applying that later to a particular degree. And that is as valid a way forward as a vocational course, which is also, of course, perfectly valid for some people. I'm suspecting you wouldn't be here if you weren't open to this notion of studying something and then later focusing on a particular career path. Now, coming back to these patterns that I mentioned earlier, we have pattern A and pattern B. These are the two. There are some other models, but for simplicity's sake, I'm focusing on these here. Pattern A is both subjects studied for the 4 years of the degree. Pattern B is both subjects studied for 3 years, and then one of those for the 4th year. Most students choose pattern B. I'd say 85% of the TSM students choose pattern B. Pattern A is slightly more restricted in the number of combinations, but it is also available. You don't have to decide on pattern A or pattern B until you're well into the degree program. At the moment, the decision point comes at the beginning of your 3rd year of study. So for the first 2 years, whichever you eventually studied, you would be doing the same thing. Just to make that crystal clear, give you a couple of examples. Pattern A, and then I'll do pattern B. You notice you've got here the Trinity Terminology again. 1st and 2nd years are called freshmen, not fresh persons, and maybe in 3 or 4 decades, it'll be fresh persons. And then you've got the sophistry years. So the 1st year, the 2nd year, 3rd and 4th are junior freshmen, junior sophisters, senior sophisters. This is pattern A, so you'll see it's sociology and geography all the way through. Okay? Pattern B then is, that in this example, psychology and English literature, is psychology and English literature the first 3 years, and then one or the other, psychology or English literature in the 4th year. Okay, so although there are some complexities about TSM, that aspect I hope is crystal clear. If you're struggling with that, maybe you should rethink university, because I think you probably understand that. Okay, now coming back then to why choose TSM. Broad range of subject combinations, I mentioned that already. You choose the subjects when applying. If that's what you'd like to do, then this is the kind of degree that you should think about. It's a 4-year course. It's an honours degree in 2 subjects, so the degree certificate you get is in the 2 subjects. At the same time, because of the pattern B, it gives you the opportunity to specialise in one of them in the 4th year. So really it's like having a dual honours degree, and the degree, the extent of expertise and special knowledge in one subject that you've had by focusing on it in the 4th year, where you also do a research dissertation in the 4th year. So you're already developing independent study and independent research and independent analysis, which is also a very important transferable skill. It's something that employers are very interested in. You also have optional study abroad for up to a year on an Erasmus or similar scheme, which is fully accredited as part of your degree. And this doesn't just apply to people who study languages. Most of the TSM subjects have Erasmus programs and other programs, not just in Europe. There are programs in Australia, in the United States, and in developing ones in other countries as well. Trinity is developing links with India and with South American countries at the moment, which sooner or later will also give exchange opportunities in those countries. Another reason, I think, for choosing TSM is precisely this very wide range of combinations. So you have the stimulation of sitting in classes with students. You may have chosen to do German and Spanish, but the other students of German, if you're in a German class, may be doing one of 15, 20 other subjects. And they're bringing all the ideas that they've learned from history or from history of art or from Jewish and Islamic studies or whatever. They're bringing that in to the discussion in seminars. So in a way, you're getting some of the benefits of those other subjects all the time. So there's a kind of interchange which is very much encouraged. You're not sitting in a group with people who are only studying the same thing as you are. And I think that's very good. Another reason to choose TSM, there are some of these big lecture theatres, and this one, as you perhaps know, isn't the biggest. There's another one downstairs which has about 500 people in it, which can seem very impersonal. And there are a few classes like that, even within TSM, but the vast majority of subjects and the vast majority of classes are small groups. Some of the subjects I mentioned there, you're never going to be in a group of more than about 10 students. And that's quite common across a number of subjects to have at least some classes like that. So small group teaching, small group learning is much more typical in a way than the mass lecture in our subject areas. And then, of course, there's this so-called Trinity experience, the ambience, the beautiful campus, this amazing library, the long room library, these graduation experiences, generally the architectural feeling of the place that I think enormously privileged. I've worked at 7 universities, and this is the only one I've been in that's quite like this one, with having this kind of ancient ambience in the middle of right in the centre of a bustling capital city. There are very few universities in the world like that, actually, and I think that's a good argument for considering this one. As you know, the Trinity experience is much imitated. I'm showing my age a bit here, but this is, I think, Star Wars 2, The Attack of the Clones, the Jedi Library, and you can see where they got the library from. It's quite obvious, isn't it, that they've nicked it from the Trinity Library in the middle here. You open a magazine or a newspaper all over the world and find an article about libraries, and they'll illustrate it almost always with this picture that's here. It's quite extraordinary what an iconic place it is, and it's great. It's a privilege, and you know, to go into it and just experience the atmosphere. Even read the books. Okay? So, you know, Trinity, it is an ancient university at the heart of a vibrant capital city. You've got all kinds of extracurricular activities, student societies and so on. You've got the privilege, I think, it sounds a bit arrogant to say that, but I think it is, of studying with internationally excellent scholars in their field who have it's fundamental to Trinity, the idea of the scholar-teacher, that's to say the researcher who's also teaching what they research. You haven't got 2 different communities, which is true in some universities in the world, where you have the researchers and you have the teachers. It's very much the notion that people who are researching, who are passionate about the ideas in their subject, communicate that passion to students as well, and that's very important. You've got degrees that develop your independence of mind, your critical intelligence and your creativity, as well as giving you subject knowledge. So transferable skills again, but transferable skills is a bit of that sort of management jargon. It's a real thing though, it's a real benefit in life to have those skills, I think, and it matters. It's very satisfying for your development as a person as well. Okay? Now, it's all right, I did know that was coming. Graduation is a time to celebrate, obviously, that feeling of achievement at the end, but it's a perfectly legitimate question to say, yes, I think this could be a wonderful degree, I could really enjoy these 4 years, but what am I going to do afterwards? And I think it's worth giving a few minutes to that. There are a number of career paths. This is one you might need to discuss with your parents before you take it up. This is from The Matrix, 2003 film. I'm just trying to show how cutting edge I am, right? This is the character Trinity, who probably isn't a Trinity graduate, but never mind. Let's look at some real questions. Where would a TSM degree take me? First point to note is, if you look in the press, some 50% of graduate jobs don't advertise, don't specify a specific degree subject, a particular degree subject. They're looking for good people with good minds, and they want you to be able to demonstrate that, but not necessarily by having studied a particular discipline, particular subject. So that how well you do, what class of degree you get, putting it crudely, how well you do and where you did it may be as important as the particular subject that you do. So, this brings me back to my opening point really. Choose the subjects that really fire you. Things that you want to do, you want to spend 4 years of your life engaging with. If you study, the other things you do at university are really important, all the extracurricular activities and so on, but if you study with half a heart and are not really focused on it, you won't do well, and that will be noticed. It really is an issue. So you want to have something that you really want to do for 4 years. So choose your subjects carefully. Take advice from other people, but also listen to your, whatever you have, an inner voice or a heart or a soul or whatever. Yeah? I think it's important. And be ready also for further study, further training, job mobility, so-called lifelong learning or portfolio careers. The days when you graduated and went into a job and stayed in it for 40 years certainly have gone. Yeah? Just give you an example of some employers who target all disciplines, who are not looking for specific skills. People in the IT industry in that first list there, in the first bullet point there. Firms in the consumer industries, distillers, Mars, Smurfit and so on. Management accountancy firms, management consultancy, I beg your pardon, the Deloitte, McKinsey, KPMG and so on, accountancy firms, insurance and retail. They're all very interested in people and the kinds of intellectual qualities they bring rather than necessarily specific disciplines or specific subjects. There is a point worth making briefly. TSM degrees do have a vocational element if you are interested in a teaching career afterwards, because many TSM combinations are ideal for preparations for teaching careers. All the TSM subjects that are taught at schools are recognised by the Teaching Council for that purpose. But let's have a look at a few others, because in fact I would say at least 90% of TSM students don't become teachers. So that's not a typical career line. It might look like it when you look at some of the subjects that are offered, but it isn't. It's not actually typical. This is just an almost random sample of first jobs, things that people have gone into immediately after graduating. So you've got an administrator with an art magazine who'd studied art history and French, or a content analyst content policy, I beg your pardon, with Facebook, studied sociology and French, and an analyst in regulatory consulting with a management consultancy, BA Economics and History plus an MSc, editor with a publishing firm, English and Classics, journalist with Public Affairs, Ireland, English and German, and a Master's in Journalism. You notice one of the themes there is that further postgraduate qualification, this idea of continuing to go on to train, which may gradually lead you to focus more on a particular vocation than you had done, but after a non-vocational degree. Look at a few trajectories. So what do people do after that first job? These, again, they're just examples. One could take thousands. I mean, there are about 350 graduates in TSM every year across the various combinations. So there's a huge number of examples to take. You could almost find a counter-example for every one. So these are just chosen almost at random. First one, somebody who studied languages, worked in a call centre, then took a training course with IBEC, the Irish Business and Business Education Council, EOP programme. It's a European programme of placements. Did some training and some work in teaching English as a foreign language, became a language initiative coordinator and then a university administrator, a senior post in a university after that. Second student studied sociology and English, worked in market research, became a fundraiser, and is now a senior executive for UNICEF, the United Nations organization. Third one, interesting example, philosophy and theology. Took an internship with General Motors, worked for Jeff Fax, Capital Bars, Smurfit, and is now a self-employed management consultant. So you see the career trajectory out of a degree which almost fits the stereotype of sort of a degree that you would assume was not vocational, and you see how it can lead you afterwards because of the quality of what you have to offer, the quality of the training that you've had and the transferable skills that you've got. This is another example, somebody who studied English and German and then worked in the Department of Foreign Affairs in various offices in Ireland, in the UK, back in Ireland, and now has a senior coordination role in the political secretariat. So these are just some examples of career paths. Another one then, Spanish and French, now a producer and director with a film company. Worked in educational publishing, worked as an independent TV producer. I just said independent tea producer, didn't I? Yes, TV producer. I do notice what I'm saying, it's all right. And you can see that this is one of these very typical, I think, modern contemporary jobs, which involves a lot of self-employment, a lot of juggling. It's, we're a long, long way, I think, in the reality of most people's lives now from a kind of secure job where you settled in on graduation and you kind of trotted along for the next 40 years. And a degree that trains you in flexibility, that trains you in creative thinking, it trains you in reinventing things, thinking about yourself and about the world around you in a critical way is actually a really good training for the world that we are living in now, which is a very mobile, fluid one. I'm going to jump that now because I think this illustrates what I'm talking about better. These are just some of the many, many fields that TSM graduates work in: interpreting, translating, legal, education and teaching, library and information work, marketing and sales, journalism and media, publishing, development and aid work, arts and culture administration, travel and tourism, administration, finance, software localization, public service, a whole range of fields, and there'll be many others as well. I just wonder if you recognize this one. This is TSM English and Philosophy, mid-1980s, Masters in Creative Writing from the University of East Anglia, an RTE producer on the program including Nighthawks for 6 years. Do you know who this is? It's a TSM graduate who then got the Man Booker Prize for her novel The Gathering, and it's Anne Enright, who is a TSM graduate. And actually there is a significant number of creative writers, people, filmmakers, actors who have come through the TSM route. That's the first destinations of 2012 graduates. That's the most recent figures we have from arts, humanities, social science courses. So that includes TSM. And you see that 60% of them go straight into employment, 30% do further training. And then there is a 10% group who are in neither of those, but of those, 3% they didn't return the form, or they didn't want to express a view, who knows what they're doing. So that you've got an employment rate after graduation of at least 90%. And if you do a bit of Googling, you'll find out that that's almost exactly the same as for all other degrees, with the exception perhaps of medicine, for obvious reasons, where the employment rate afterwards is higher, of course, and thank goodness, given what it costs to train a medical student. But otherwise, this employment for these sorts of degrees is just as high as for any other program. And similarly, a TSM degree opens lots of avenues for further study, both research study, where you might want to take an academic route and become a university lecturer, which many TSM graduates over the years have done, or for master's programs in a more professional, vocational area, which would take you into one of those areas, whether it's health and therapeutics, or education, or business, or law, or whatever. Okay, last couple of slides now. If you want to apply for TSM, what do you do? First thing, decide which subjects you want to study. Comes back to my first point. Spend some time on that, thinking about that. What are the subjects that really fire you, that you want to devote 3 to 4 years of your life on? Secondly, check the prerequisites. And some subjects do have them. Not every language, for example, is offered at beginner's level. Some of them you do have to have a Leaving Cert or equivalent in. Check the combination exists. Most combinations do, but you need to just check. There are a few that are not possible. Apply for the specific combination you wish to study. Each of them has their own code. This can be a bit daunting. I would suggest that if you are interested in TSM, after this talk you go to the dining hall where there is a TSM stand and you talk it through in more detail with the colleagues there who can advise you on this. The points requirement will be that for the higher of the two subjects stated there. I can't go through that now, but there is a points indicated for each subject, and it is the one for the higher of the two in the combination. For that reason, consider applying for more than one combination, because there'll be some that putting it very crudely, it's easier to get into than others. So think about that. Think about applying for 2 or more combinations. That just, you obviously can't read that now. It's just to show you the page which sets out the combinations and the possibilities, and that's in the prospectus for you to refer to. The TSM office has a website you can consult, which has all further information. I'll give you the web address will come up in a moment. And so I'd say good luck, and we hope to see you here. Thank you very much.